Zenless Zone Zero might have one of the scariest characters in HOYOVERSE history, and the game isn't even out yet. ZZZ is set to be released on July 4th in less than a month from this video's upload, and you can use the link in the description below to register. I've been trying to get into the beta, and I finally got in. I did some deep digging into the lore, and your Leafy Lore streamer found out some stuff. I'm your Leafy Lore streamer Minsleif, and I read the Zenless Zone Zero lore so that you don't have to. Today's video is sponsored by Zenless Zone Zero, and today we're going to dive into some theories where I try to answer some of my biggest questions for the story so far. Is Anby a clone? Who the heck is F.A.I.R.Y, and should we be afraid of F.A.I.R.Y taking over New Eridu, or worse, your entire PC? Let's deep dive together, shall we? This theory seems to be a really popular one that has to do with Zenless Zone Zero's mascot character, Anby. Anby is described as a mysterious young girl who never talks about her past, almost as if she didn't have one. She's calm and collected and unusually competent in combat, almost as if she'd had years of training. She was taken in by Nicole Damara of the Cunning Hairs, and her identity as Anby Damara had never existed prior. This theory stems from the popular observation that Anby shares uncanny similarities to another playable character, Soldier 11. Soldier 11 is from the mysterious faction named the Obel Squad. Her character description is interesting if you read it, as every descriptor is followed by "at least that's what Soldier 11 tells herself." Her moniker Soldier 11, as well as her rather mechanical personality, gives me the impression that she could be a manufactured soldier, and that there are probably tons more just like her. Soldier 11 and Anby share many visual similarities, as well as combat similarities, leading many to speculate that Anby might have been a soldier just like 11. But she may have been one of the few soldiers, or only soldier, to have gone rogue. Soldier 11 alludes to her hatred of treason, which could add fuel to the theory F.A.I.R.Y that Anby may have successfully escaped her organization and now seems to have amnesia when it comes to memories of her past. Their similar appearance might even spark discussions that they are clones. Either Anby and Soldier 11 are clones of the Obel Squad's best fighter, or Anby is the original soldier who happened to get away. All in all, this is a super cool theory, and I definitely believe Anby is Zenless Zone Zero's mascot for significant lore reasons to come. The second theory is more of a speculation behind the mysterious F.A.I.R.Y and its possible origin. Now, out of all of the current characters and organizations we have in Zenless Zone Zero, I am most afraid of F.A.I.R.Y. I'm telling you, F.A.I.R.Y is scarier than any of the ethereal monsters or homicidal organizations that we've encountered so far. She's so scary, in fact, and we don't even know the full extent of her power. F.A.I.R.Y is an AI that took over Bell and Wise's HDD system. This HDD system is the Hollow Deep Dive system that makes it possible for them to traverse the Hollows, apocalyptic level disasters that manifest as abnormal spherical dimensions appearing out of nowhere. F.A.I.R.Y classifies itself as a Type 3 general-purpose AI equipped with total sequential integration. Basically, an AI engineer's dream come true. F.A.I.R.Y has access to Hollow databases and access to over 80% of all smart devices in the city of New Eridu. F.A.I.R.Y is powerful as it can analyze real-time data and determine the best paths out of the Hollow, which wasn't previously possible, and are way more advanced than Carrots, which were the usual escape routes out of the Hollows. F.A.I.R.Y describing itself as a Type 3 AI reminds me of the Kardashev scale. The Kardashev scale is a method of measuring a civilization's level of technological advancement based on the amount of energy it is capable of harnessing and using. So think of aliens and humans and space for a sec. A Type 1 civilization is able to access all the energy available on its own planet. Hypothetically, such a civilization should be able to terraform and control its planet's natural events, such as earthquakes and volcanoes. Right now, humans in our own planet Earth are only considered a 0.73 on the Kardashev scale. We have aeons in technological advancements to go just to be considered a Type 1. A Type 2 civilization can consume a star's energy, and a Type 3 civilization is able to capture all the energy emitted by its galaxy and every object within it. Type 3 civilizations would be considered gods to all the cosmos. F.A.I.R.Y is a Type 3 AI. If you were ever afraid of AI controlling the world, well then, F.A.I.R.Y should be nightmare fuel for you. Kardashev scale fits so well into Zenless Zone Zero's theory space if you think about it. The hollows contain ether energy, which is what corrupts potentially all species that we currently know of: humans, furries, robots, and even AI. All beings are born with different levels of etheric resistance, and for robots like Billy, it depends on the metal they're made with. New Eridu actually uses ether energy in order to power the city, meaning there are ways to possibly safely use ether energy despite its corrosive nature. So, New Eridu uses ether energy to power itself, and the Kardashev scale rates civilizations on its capability of using its available energy resources. So what energy source does F.A.I.R.Y use? Ether energy also from the hollows, or something else? F.A.I.R.Y's origin obviously is a secret for now, but it definitely doesn't stop us from speculating. When activated by the siblings in the main story, F.A.I.R.Y agrees to work for them until an opportunity arrives. It sounds so ominous. It's basically a threat, and we have no idea yet what this opportunity that F.A.I.R.Y is waiting for is. Understanding this theory of F.A.I.R.Y's possible origin requires prior knowledge about Zenless Zone Zero's initial story, so let me summarize some important details for you. In the beginning of the story, in the first cutscene when you boot up the game, the Cunning Hares are tasked with retrieving a strongbox which was stolen by the Red Fang gang. This strongbox is said to contain potentially powerful data, and according to Nicole, it belonged to the Institute. This institute could be referring to the White Star Institute mentioned in Zenless Zone Zero news articles. Hold on to this thought for a sec. Later in the story, we meet members of the Belobog faction. The Belobog Heavy Industries is a newly emerging industrial group in New Eridu whose main business covers infrastructure and construction machinery. Khalida is the current president of Belobog Heavy Industries, and her father Kor Belobog was its former leader. During a cutscene from her past, Khalida's father Kor was interested in something referred to as the prototype. This prototype could have been Belobog's first independently developed smart construction machine. Belobog experienced a tragedy in which the former President Kor disappeared with a huge sum of Belobog's money. President Kor was never found. In the past, Kor was seen discussing the prototype's manufacturing fee, and he's seen arguing with a mysterious entity before running away with a bag of money. Fast forward to current events, as we work on a commission with Belobog, we find a receipt of 24,500,000 dennies from President Kor to a mysterious faction called the Asterism Industries. Now, remember the strongbox Nicole and the Cunning Hares were tasked with retrieving for the White Star Institute? This strongbox contained a drive which the Phaethon siblings inserted into their bamboo. This drive ended up overriding their entire system. This drive contained F.A.I.R.Y. A connection we can find comes from the name Asterism Industries. An asterism is a group of stars that form a pattern but are not a constellation. Examples of asterisms are the Big Dipper and Little Dipper, which are part of the officially classified constellation Ursa Major. Asterism Industries could be the parent group of White Star Institute, which had possession of the strongbox which contained F.A.I.R.Y. White Star Institute seems to be quite influential as well, as they're able to fund activities in Hollow Zero, the most dangerous hollow which completely destroyed the old Eridu. Speaking of old Eridu, there are heavy implications in the story that Belle and Wise grew up in old Eridu. All we know is that the White Star Institute had possession of F.A.I.R.Y, but we also don't necessarily know who may have invented it. But I do have a hunch on who might be responsible for F.A.I.R.Y's creation, as well as this. This next theory will cover the siblings and their possible connection with Zenless Zone Zero's most enigmatic organization, the Helios Research Institute. In one of the very first cutscenes of ZZZ, we see the siblings booting up their HDD system. As a brief recap, the HDD system stands for Hollow Deep Dive, and it's the siblings' unique way of entering the hollows. Since hollows appear randomly, people and items could be trapped within them. Exposure to high levels of corruption or ether energy in these hollows could turn people into ethereals, monsters, so entering these hollows is no easy task. These hollows are the reason for humanity's near extinction, and the destruction they've caused are also the reason why New Eridu is the last known metropolis of humanity in the world. These hollows are so bad that one is even about to swallow the moon. The government of New Eridu only allows authorized personnel with proper Holo equipment from the Holo Investigative Association to rescue people and complete missions within the Holo. But due to lack of trust and inefficiency of the government, people instead commission illegal proxies to rescue loved ones and items of importance. Bell and Wise are the most successful proxy in the business. Their proxy name is Phaethon, and their unique HUD system is the reason they have a flawless success rate in Holo missions. Through the HDD, they're able to transfer their consciousness into a Bang Boo and roam the Holos safely. Bang Boo seemingly have higher levels of resistance against the Holos' ether energy than humans do, which is why the siblings don't enter the Holos on their own. In one of the first cutscenes of ZZZ, we can actually see the HUD system booting up. If you didn't know this about me, and well, it's fine, it's not usually something I share anyways, I actually graduated from college with a computer science degree. So of course, I had to read the lines of code and print statements, and I found this. The production of the Holo Deep Dive system was led by the Helios Research Institute. Ah yes, Helios, Phaethon. HOYOVERSE loves adding Greek mythology in their titles, so I wasn't even surprised when I saw these names show up. The amount of times I've specifically had Helios' Wikipedia entry open on my screen. Helios is a sun god of ancient Greek mythology, and he's often depicted with a radiant crown and driving a horse-drawn carriage through the sky. Helios is also the father of many children, including Phaethon. You guessed it, Phaethon in Greek mythology, and Phaethon the pseudonym of Bell and Wise. Phaethon was one of the sons of Helios, and he had daddy issues. In order to try to prove that Helios was his daddy, he asked Daddy Helios for permission to drive his chariot for a day. Helios warned Phaethon that only he could control the horses, but Phaethon disregarded all of this. Phaethon rides Helios' chariot and he loses control of the horses. He drives the chariot too close to Earth, burning it, because remember, Helios is the sun god, and at times too far from it, causing parts of the Earth to freeze. Giga god Zeus gets upset and strikes Phaethon with one of his lightning bolts, and kills him. It's cool how Phaethon technically dies for a sec in the story to reflect the Greek mythology influence. So the Holo Deep Dive system was developed by this mysterious Helios Research Institute. In the entire beta so far, this seems to be the only place Helios Research Institute is mentioned. The HDD system is also one of a kind and is in Bell and Wise's possession, which leads me to theorize a couple things. 1. Bell and Wise are from the Helios Research Institute, or they knew people from there. 2. The Helios Research Institute could have existed in Old Eridu and got destroyed by Holo Zero. This could explain their interest in Holo Zero, and it could also explain why we don't hear of Helios anywhere else. And 3, F.A.I.R.Y, the most powerful AI we know so far, could have been developed by the Helios Research Institute. In fact, F.A.I.R.Y could be the Helios Research Institute's secret project. The reason I sort of speculate this is because of good old Greek mythology. Phaethon again is the son of Helios, and his mother was Clymene, an Oceanid nymph. Now, Greek mythology states that Helios loved his nymphs, and he had nymph daughters. There are no fairies in Greek mythology. However, nymphs are the earliest manifestations of fairies in mythology. Greek mythology, Helios Institute, nymph, fairy, yeah. Now, this is super speculative territory for fun since Zenless Zone Zero isn't officially out yet until July 4th. But I speculate that the opportunity F.A.I.R.Y is waiting for might have something to do with the Helios Institute and Holo Zero. A possible rebirth of the Helios Institute, perhaps? And how would it accomplish that? Possibly through the sibling that we don't choose as our main character? Manipulation, perhaps? Remember, fairies weren't always the sweet, beautiful creatures we know them today. They were more often than not mischievous creatures with dark and potentially evil intentions. So F.A.I.R.Y turning our own sibling against us is not out of the realm of possibility. F.A.I.R.Y's quite literally a godlike being in terms of AI capabilities, so I honestly wouldn't put anything past it. For now. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. I'm your leafy lore Minsleif, and I read the Zenless Zone Zero lore so that you don't have to.